Hello, and welcome to another release of the Pit Fan Mod. We are up to version 2.6.6 now, and the biggest change for this release is the Crazed Human class that you can see here. He did exist in the previous version, but he didn't have any unique mechanics yet, and now he does. He has Insanity in place of Psionics, since he is too mentally unstable to try to harness any psionic capacity he might have, but in its place, he has Hallucinosis and Mania. These are two trees that are fed by skills that are unique to him. And as a little aside, all the skills that a character doesn't really have access to will be hidden now. So if you're a warbot, you won't see the psionics. If you're him, you won't see the psionics abilities. And likewise, these abilities and the capacitive and matter ones won't show up for normal characters. So let's get into some of these abilities. Actually, before we do, I should explain that his insanity does not grow naturally the way mana does. It actually drops down, and drops down even quicker when you rest. However, if you take damage or you destroy enemies, you will get it back. And the amount you get back, part of it's linear, just with how much damage you take, but another portion of it is based on what percentage of the damage you take relative to your max health. So say you're dropping down to a new floor and you're taking really heavy damage for you, you can fill your entire bar in a turn or two. So when the going gets tough, he gets to start throwing out all his abilities, basically. The first ability of his that I'm going to use is this one, Comrade. Because this guy will throw a teleport bomb to me, and I do not want that, I'm going to go ahead and take control of him. And this is great. I mean, the Crazy Ivans are very strong, as long as you can keep them alive, because they're pretty squishy. He has a mob and teleport bombs. But if you get tired of manually controlling him, you can put the targeting reticle over him and hit F7, and you can use it to get him back. I'm probably not going to do that with him, because I don't want him teleport bombing this guy, and me in it. I'm not sure if his AI is smart enough not to blast friends. The next ability, so My Friends, is kind of your workhorse, especially for the early part of the game. And what this will do is summon hallucinations on your behalf. You can see we got our Buddha Sapiens. They have all the abilities, I believe, or at least the attacks. Don't think they can cast psionics, but they have all the attacks of their actual characters. But if they take any damage at all, they disappear. You can see. Just go ahead and kill that guy. And this is a permanent taking over too. So as long as you can keep him alive, he's yours. Next one, we have Ignore Walls. And this does exactly what you might think it'll do. Let's see. I'm actually probably just going to kill that guy, so I don't have to keep dealing with him. Go on. Die now. There we go. Wait a few more turns. This guy has max skills and everything, so this lasts quite a bit longer than it would normally. And those creatures, they spawn from the same list as hallway monsters, and, you know, if you get a madness going through a trap or something like that, it's equivalent to those. So they will get stronger as you get deeper and deeper into the pit. Okay, now going back to Ignore Walls, you can see, you can go ahead and step into a wall. It doesn't last very long. You can see even at max skill, it's only lasts 9 or 10 turns. But that is enough to get on the other side of a wall, to avoid some things. You can even, run along the wall if you need to. If you need to get away from stuff. If you do happen to stay in the wall, and it expires, it'll just spit you out to whatever the closest tile it can find. Next we have Foul Stench. We'll just go ahead and head back up here, I think. Go ahead and spawn ourselves someone to mess with. I'm quite fond of cows myself. So Foul Stench will release a cloud that causes choking. And you can see, so if you drop down to a new floor, you're getting surrounded, it can do quite a fair amount of damage. Obviously this only applies to organic units, so no mecha, but cyborgs it'll work. Next we have Can't Fool Me. What this is basically a transmogrification ray, where you are guaranteed to get another creature of similar or lesser strength. It uses experience to filter out some of the characters, so you don't have to worry about changing something fairly innocuous into a heavy mech Mark IV or something like that. So just give ourselves another cow here. And we got a rat. Unlike the transmog ray, you don't get experience from that, so it's not something you can really farm. Going over to the mania tree, change places. So what change places will do is, without spending a turn, will allow you to change places with another character. Now, it's actually been very useful in my test plays, because a lot of times you get surrounded by creatures, but you'll see some guy, kind of on the outskirts. Imagine there's a guy here, and you can go ahead, change places with him, and then take another step, so you're out of line of sight. It's quite cheap. It only takes 50 insanity, so very useful. Next was Comrade, which we already took a look at, and then Go Berserk, which is exactly what you might think it is. You can turn into a bear. Sort of like a druid skill, I suppose. It will hide your inventory and your stamina skills during this time, so you can't, you can't heal yourself, can't access your weapons, but you can change back with the Cancel Berserk skill at any time without costing you a turn, so you won't get stuck as a bear, but you will do quite a bit of damage. And then finally, we have Got Your Nose. This will actually steal a weapon from a creature. And what would be a good one for that? Suppose we have a Hiver Warrior B, which is the commander. Just cancel this for now. Give myself some more insanity. Although I'm sure he'll be providing me some real soon. And see, unfortunately I got his flamer instead of his mag rifle. Then I can go ahead and use that. Oh, I think I have the AI turned off, that's why. So you can go ahead and use his. Gives you a, if you do this on a very powerful creature, you can get very, very powerful weaponry, machine guns, mason rifles, that kind of thing. Use it on a warbot or a heavy Morigi. That's their main weapon. Without that, they're not going to do that much damage to you. So, and they never get it back. You will lose this weapon in a few turns. Here you can see it'll last a few more turns with full skill. Just pass a couple turns here. And I lost it. But he doesn't get it back. So, quite useful. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If you rest with him, the insanity will go down even faster. So, only when needed. And he doesn't have very much health, so that's the price he pays for all these cool abilities. And there are some items that will give him insanity back. Hawk's nuts, stimulants, mushrooms, and raw meat so far are insta-fill. And I think that's about it. we can move on to the Warbot. There's a decent number of changes for the Warbot. First and foremost, you got an extra set of abilities. This is magnetism, so you can... A magnetic well will basically causes an AoE that will freeze any mecha in place. So if you're getting chased or anything like that, or you don't want particular mecha to get close to you, go ahead and use that. Boost, I think, already existed, but Electric Fence didn't. This is basically like that armor that'll cause damage to anything that attacks you. But this damage will scale with the amount of damage they do to you. Great one for dropping into a new floor. You get a lot of free damage. Already had Discharge. Stop Bullets is a status that you can put on yourself that will basically stop any ballistic weapon from harming you. So it doesn't matter how powerful it is, machine gun, heavy machine gun, they will all basically miss. And then Hurl Mecha. This one's kind of neat. What this will do is we'll fling a mecha in the direction that you're facing. Let me just try to demo it. So if I were to add a heavy security bot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure. It might not be quite far enough to. We'll just do it this way. So if you hurl him and he manages to hit a wall, I gotta give him more skills here. There we go. So if you hurl him and he hits a wall, he takes damage based on the number of tiles he passed before hitting that wall. There you can see. It doesn't matter how much armor they have, how big a baddie they are. If that had been across 6 tiles, he would have taken 60 damage. Which would put him almost in the sparking, I think. And then over here on the matter side, so that's been split as well into drones and organic suppression. Drones are real cool. You can deploy a scout, which is basically a little havoc drone. He has a stun ray. Good for scouting out things. It's good for getting the stun off. That didn't work there, but if you need to make an escape, or if the creature only has 2 move, and you put a stun on him, he's going to be down to 1 move, so you can kite him. Oops, wrong one. Boombot, which if you've ever been on the receiving end of a boombot, you know what they're all about. Just go ahead and get away from that guy. Boombots do a tremendous amount of damage. It's either, I think, 56 or 48. One of the two. This actually leads me into another thing that's changed. There's a new category called Other Damage in the log. And what this will do is it'll show in gray any of the damage that wasn't either by you or to you. So if you want to see what your allies are doing or any of that kind of stuff, you can actually see it. Or I think also if you throw grenades, sometimes that wouldn't show all the damage information, and now it will. Another change is if you're wearing heavy armor, the Warbot will adopt the Harpy pattern Warbot look. Fear Cloud is basically an AoE fear. Can't remember if that was already in the last version. Only lasts a couple of turns, but quite cheap. For matter, anyway. And, will fear many different, so it's good for getting swarmed. Acoustic Overload. All these only work on organic, as you might guess from the title. This Organic Overload, go to the description. It's basically broadcasting a loud sound, and it'll do quite a bit of damage and leaves them confused and in pain. Pain being very useful because it prevents casters from using any of their psionics. And in confused, means sometimes they won't shoot you. They'll shoot other characters or props, what have you. Sub-Zero actually shoots cold. Let's go ahead and equip a couple of these. Does that not work without a target? Oh well. I'll fix that at some point, but yeah, you can see it actually causes an AoE rather than a spray, the way the freeze ray does. So you can hit quite a few at the same time. I'm just going to go ahead and put him on autopilot. So have to do his turn every time. And then Shrapnel Cannon is basically a high-powered shotgun. So free damage, you can do AoE, and does quite a fair amount of damage. I think that was very much on the low end of what that can do. And let me check my notes, see if there's anything else. He does get energy now for every kill, for every mecha kill that he gets. But his base hunger rate is higher. So you get quite a bit of energy if you kill a heavy mech or something like that. He no longer starts with the Photofeki. That ended up being so overpowered that it made it kind of boring. So now he starts with the Chakar rifle, which I don't think I have any more on this one, but it's an okay one, but it's not very efficient. And that means that, even if you find a carbine, it's a good upgrade. It makes the loot you find more meaningful. But he also starts with a mag pistol, so you don't have to use your energy all the time when starting out. And let me just check my notes. And you can rest with him now. It doesn't really do anything besides, mean you don't have to keep pressing X. But since you can sleep with Control-Shift-X, means you can rest to get your capacitor back pretty quickly. And done. I think that was all I had for Warbot. And there's a few new bosses. Azrius, boss that already existed, he had a bug before where he wasn't using his summoning spells. Those have been fixed, and he got some new weapons. I'll leave you to find out what they are. And 3 new bosses got added: the Makose Singularity, the Gobbler, and the Bulk. If we move on to quality of life changes, let's see if I believe the Crazed Human had some door keys. So now these have mouse overs, so you can see what they are. Now if you want to random, say you want to start a new play, instead of having to pick random early on, before, completely random, you pick it here, and it'll pick the character and the loot for you. But now you can get to the character you want and hit random. So if you want random loot, but want a particular character, you can use that now. There's been some changes to the SOT sticks, adding more linkage and showing more info. So if you go to a monster's entry, not only will it show you the weapons they have, but what they can drop and the percentage of that. In the future, I'll be adding a link so you can get to that SOT sticks entry as well. This also works for creatures that can drop a list. And what I mean by that, let's see, would that be medium 2, for example? So for items or weapons that have alternates, so this guy will drop a laser carbine 5% of the time, but of that 5%, usually it's a laser carbine, but it can be a chaos grenade, I'm not sure why that's on the list, an enduro, or a smart. Before, I think this crashed the game in the previous version, and that's been fixed. And likewise, I believe from an item, You can also see who drops it and what the chances are, and the link has been made on this one, so you can just click on it and get there. And that is about it for this version. It's been quite a long time coming, sorry about that, but hope you will enjoy it, and I will see you next time.